1997, the movie Titanic became one of the highest grossing movies ever. The Chicago Bulls won their fifth title by defeating the Utah Jazz in the NBA Finals. The show South Park premiered on Comedy Central. Bill Clinton was sworn in for his second term as President of the United States. Just 2 months after this, Biggie's sophomore album, Life After Death, was released. Before getting into the album though, if you haven't already done it yet, go follow my Instagram. That would be greatly appreciated. You guys can always reach out and show me some love. It's all good. Make sure to comment on what it was like for you in 1997 when this album came out and what your reaction was when you first heard it. How has it impacted you also? The story of Life After Death started with the success of Biggie's debut album, Ready to Die. This album was released in September of 1994. By October of 1995, a little more than a year later, the album was double platinum. Singles like Juicy and Big Poppa were certified hits as well as going platinum or gold. Now that Biggie was in the door, all eyes were on Junior Mafia. They released their debut album, Conspiracy, in August of 1995. This just so happened to be the month that the infamous 1995 Source Awards took place. This was right in the middle of the media-driven East Coast-West Coast feud. If you're watching this, there's a 95% chance that you already know the history behind this. But tensions were at an all-time high at the Source Awards, which took place in New York City, New York. Representatives of the West Coast were in attendance. Specifically Death Row Records and Suge Knight, with Suge Knight infamously sending shots at Diddy, and Bad Boy Records during the acceptance speech for the Motion Picture Soundtrack of the Year award for the movie Above the Rim. Not that long after the awards show, Tupac was out on bail and out for vengeance. He got shot and robbed in 1994 at Quad Studios in New York City. He openly blamed Biggie and Bad Boy for having prior knowledge of what happened to him, feeling betrayed due to his friendship with Biggie. But now Tupac was free and he positioned himself with West Coast record label Death Row Records, who had problems with Bad Boy Records. The situation between both labels escalated after Biggie pretty much incited the shooting that took place during the music video for the Dog Pound song New York, New York. There's a ton of other things that happened during this period, but the point is that Life After Death was recorded during this crazy time. The entire recording process for the album took 18 months, with recording and production taking place in Los Angeles, New York City, and the country of Trinidad and Tobago. Some people watching might be wondering why Trinidad. This is where Diddy took his production team, the Hitmen, to isolate themselves to work in order to not be distracted with their tensions with the West Coast. This particular trip to Trinidad occurred in 1996. I went and did that Trinidad trip and came back with a lot of heat. I went and took this famous trip to Trinidad where I basically made 70% of the records that I put out in the 90s were made during one trip. I made hundreds of records. I made Biggie's whole album, my whole album, Faith's whole album, Total's whole album, Mace's whole album, all on this one trip. 1995 is when the first song for Life After Death was recorded though. There does happen to be multiple incidents that occurred which ultimately delayed the recording process of the album. One is that Biggie got arrested in March of 1996. This followed an incident where Biggie allegedly terrorized two of his fans who were seeking autographs. He broke the windows of their taxi with a baseball bat. Biggie was charged with assault, criminal mischief, and possession of a weapon. This got dropped down to second-degree harassment, and he ultimately had to perform 100 hours of community service. Then 4 months after this incident, Biggie got arrested for weapons and drug charges. This happened after a police officer reported smelling weed after going to his townhouse to get someone to move a car that was illegally parked outside. During this search, they found weed and multiple guns with defaced serial numbers. Lil Cease was arrested during this as well. In September of 1996, Tupac was fatally shot in Las Vegas, Nevada. This isn't the video where I'm going to get into conspiracies and who was allegedly involved, but Tupac's death started a ticking time bomb for Biggie, regardless of how he might have felt about Tupac's death. Just a couple days after his death, Biggie got arrested again with Lil Cease on gun charges after an anonymous tip. According to Lil Cease, they were only locked up for a few hours. They were riding around in a Lexus truck, but after they got the car back, it would not start. So the next morning, they got a loaner car from the Lexus dealer. The Lexus dealer gave them a Lumina van, which disappointed Cease because he wanted to ride around in style. But Biggie wanted to stick with this Lumina van because he wanted to stay low-key while the Lexus truck got fixed. Shortly after driving the car, Lil Cease did not like how the brakes felt, but Biggie just told him to drive. But things took a dark turn when they went on the highway. While trying to turn a corner, the car sped out of control, crossed the other side of the road, and they hit a rail. This is how Biggie messed up his leg and Cease messed up his jaw. Biggie mentions the accident on his song Long Kiss Goodnight. With Biggie already being a big dude, the accident heavily affected him. He was in the hospital for months and he had to do rehab for weeks to be able to walk again. Charlie Baltimore was also in the car and she went through the windshield. Absolutely crazy that they all survived this. Biggie definitely had the worst injuries of the crash without a doubt. Some people believe that Biggie had a cane in the Hypnotize video for aesthetic purposes, but he actually needed one in order to walk. It was that bad. This car accident definitely affected the album, but it also gave Biggie time to reflect since he was laid up in the hospital bed for a while. This is where a good chunk of Life After Death was conceptualized. An interesting tidbit about the album is that years later, Diddy revealed that Biggie had writer's block while making the album. He said that it lasted 6 to 7 months and they did their very best to keep it quiet. Diddy said that the period that Biggie had writer's block was when he kept getting arrested and got in that car accident. Puffy blamed this on Biggie believing in his own hype, which resulted in him not really being focused on life after death. Diddy believes that Biggie did not get over his writer's block until Diddy started focusing on other artists like Mary J. Blige, Mace, The Lox, etc. But as I said, Biggie Smalls' hospital stay motivated him as well. He was dealing with several legal issues, the pressures of fame, rising competition, the car accident, the East Coast-West Coast beef, and so much more. Biggie Smalls channeled all of this into the making of Life After Death. But this was not the original title of the album though. It originally was called Life After Death Till Death Do Us Part, with Halloween Day of 1996 being the set release date. For reasons as I've mentioned, this was pushed back and the title of the album got shortened. The first single to be released for the album was Hypnotized. It dropped at the beginning of March in 1997. This song ended up topping the Billboard Hot 100. As of 1997, the song is platinum.
Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me.
Sadly, as we all know, just days after Hypnotize was released, Biggie would suffer a tragic fate after leaving a party in Los Angeles, California. He was only 24 years old. R.I.P. to Biggie Smalls. This deeply saddened the music world and still leaves questions to this day. Later that month, Bad Boy Records posthumously released Biggie's sophomore album, Life After Death. This album topped the Billboard 200, selling 690,000 copies in its first week. As of 2018, the album is 11 times platinum. It's not only regarded as one of the greatest albums ever, but as one of the best double albums of all time. One thing that always fascinated me about the album is the cover art. Biggie is on the cover dressed up beside a hearse. It's just creepy thinking about how this was released just a short time after he actually died, especially the pics of the album with Biggie in a graveyard. Michael Levine was the photographer of the shoot. In an interview, he explained that Diddy was being very demanding. Michael hired a location scout to find a graveyard. He took pictures of the graveyard that the scout found, which displeased Diddy. Puffy demanded that they needed to find a better graveyard and that the pictures were terrible. Michael felt that Diddy was right because the scenery wasn't dramatic enough, which pushed the shoot back a day. Cypress Hill Cemetery in Brooklyn, New York, where Biggie is from, ended up being the cemetery that they went with. The cover was shot in late January of 1997. Biggie Smalls walked around the shoot with a cane due to the accident. Michael also commented that Puffy was very involved in the shoot. He kept jumping in and out, complaining about the buttons on Biggie's coat. Michael described it as Puffy being like a guy who wanted to be in almost every picture. During the shoot, a bag with $15,000 worth of equipment got stolen, so it was an eventful shoot to say the least.
B-I-G, P-O-P-P-A, no info for the DEA, federal agents mad.
The album starts with the intro, which continues the story of Biggie's debut album, Ready to Die. The intro of that album starts with Biggie being born. By the 17th track, Biggie offs himself, which brings us to the intro of Life After Death. This album continues the story with Diddy in shock that Biggie took his own life. They were supposed to rule the world together and be unstoppable. This fades into the song Somebody's Gotta Die, which starts with Biggie waking up from a dream. In 2018, Larceny of the Junior Mafia spoke about the inspiration of the song. He said that Biggie was really into movies, with the two going to the theater to see the movie The Usual Suspects. This was released in 1995, which is 2 years before Life After Death came out. As confirmed by Diddy, this was the first song to be released for the album, but after Larceny and Biggie finished watching The Usual Suspects, they went to the producer Daddy O's house where Biggie recorded the song. The movie was fresh in his mind, with Biggie having the ability to come up with the song while watching a movie at the same time. The song Hypnotize follows this. As I mentioned earlier, this was the first and only single to be released before the album. After hearing the beat for the first time, Biggie knew that his first single was going to be Hypnotize. There does happen to be multiple people with production credits on this song. Producer D-Dot is one of them. He explained in an interview that he was the one who found the sample of the song. Hypnotize samples the 1979 song Rise by Herb Alpert.
Biggie, 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 can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me.
Herb's nephew, Randy Alpert, has production and songwriting credits on the song Rise. In an interview, he discussed how Diddy contacted him in 1996 about sampling his song. Randy questioned Diddy about why he chose to sample that song. Diddy told Randy the story of Rise being a huge hit in New York during the summer of 1979 when he was 10 years old. Before Hypnotize, multiple rappers including Ice Cube, Eazy-E, and Vanilla Ice approached Randy about sampling the song. He turned them all down. It wasn't until Diddy sent him a cassette with the rough version of Hypnotize that he changed his mind. He loved the record and he knew that it would go #1 on Billboard charts, which it did. Hypnotize fades into the song Kick in the Door. The track starts with the skit, which features the Mad Rapper, who's voiced by D-Dot. The Mad Rapper is essentially D-Dot playing the character of a Mad Rapper, as the name suggests. It's really funny because D-Dot does a great job and the voice of the Mad Rapper just cracks me up. The skit was also all improv. Multiple people associated with Biggie have been interviewed about the song. The song is said to be aimed at no one in particular, but there does happen to be a few names that those close to Biggie have thrown out. Nas, Ghostface Killah, Raekwon, Jeru the Damager are the main ones that I've seen. Lil C's was interviewed about this and said that Biggie went at Nas, specifically in the third verse. One of Biggie's many nicknames is the King of New York. On the remix to Nas's song Affirmative Action, Nas rapped,
"More king, I take the crown off the so-called king of the town and lock it down, Yeah. Y'all niggas know one thing, it's one life, one love, so there can only be one king."
Like Biggie, Nas is also from New York, so when he said that he would snatch the crown from the so-called king of the town, people thought that these were shots. This is why Biggie responded with this, according to Lil C's.
This goes out for those that choose to use disrespectful views on the king of NY.
Next up is J. Rule the Damager. In the second verse of the song, Biggie subliminally dissed him and DJ Premier, which is funny because DJ Premier produced Kick in the Door. Biggie Smalls did not mention any names, but DJ Premier confirmed that Biggie went at J. Rule in the song. One of the lines was that Biggie was surprised this person ran with some people that he didn't like. This refers to DJ Premier producing for J. Rule. Specifically his 1996 song One Day, where he doesn't directly say Biggie's name, but with context clues, fans believe that he was talking about him. It's believed that J. Rule replaced Biggie's name with hip-hop, as he describes hip-hop wearing Versace suits, and that hip-hop is located at Bad Boy Records. In 2021, J. Rule took to Facebook to give his side of the story after years of people believing the song was about Biggie. Now on to Raekwon and Ghostface Killah. They subliminally dissed Biggie on their skit Biters on Raekwon's 1995 album Only Built for Cuban Links. They essentially said that Biggie was biting off of Nas, with them believing the two had similar debut album covers. Illmatic released in April of 1994, while Ready to Die released in September of that year. According to Nas, after Biggie heard the skit, he called him very upset. He questioned Nas if he was cool with Ray and Ghost because Nas appeared on Only Built for Cuban Links on the song Verbal Intercourse. Nas told Biggie that while he appeared on the album, he did not know that the two were going to say that about him. So this is why some people believe that Biggie took some shots at them on the song. As I mentioned earlier, it was DJ Premier who produced this track. In an interview, he explained that there was a possibility that this song might have not made the cut for the album. The reason being is that Diddy did not like the beat initially. Puffy wanted DJ Premier to make a beat that had the same effect as the song Unbelievable, which he produced for Biggie's debut album. It wasn't until Diddy heard Biggie's verses on the song where he changed his mind, and the song ended up being included on the album. Loving You Tonight follows this, and it features R. Kelly. According to Lil C's, Diddy called Biggie and said that he wanted to get R. Kelly on the album. Everybody was kicking it in the studio, and the next thing they knew, R. Kelly was in the booth with his shirt off singing the hook of the song. There's just... Next story, man. Next story. That's enough of that. The next song is Last Day, and it features The Lox. Diddy commissioned Havoc of Mobb Deep to produce the song. Back in the day, they recorded music on reel-to-reel tapes. Somehow, the original track got lost or stolen. I've talked about this song before on my Lost/Found rap media series. I remember people commenting about Prodigy talking about this song in his book and who allegedly took it. I've never read this book, but I'm sure someone in the comments can confirm or deny this. But anyways, the original version was lost for years until it was posted on the internet in full in 2020. Havoc is definitely right in thinking that this version is superior. I like the beat and vibe way more. It's unfortunate that this version did not make the album. I Love the Dough is the next song. It features Jay-Z and Angela Winbush. Easy Mo B primarily produced Biggie's debut album Ready to Die and ended up producing only 2 records for his sophomore album. Easy Mo B produced songs like Gimme the Loot, Machine Gun Funk, and Ready to Die for his debut album. These songs are more on the grittier side. To be included on Ready to Die, Easy Mo B knew that he needed to take into account what direction Diddy was moving Biggie in with the commercial R&B type records. This is why he went ahead to produce I Love the Dough. What's Beef is next up, and the song is explaining what beef is. Of course, at this time, Biggie has several problems with several people, as we know. No need to go down that road though. According to Lil C's, the beat for What's Beef was the original beat that Bone Thugs and Harmony were supposed to rap on. This initially was the plan until Biggie laid down 3 verses and did the hook by himself. Bone Thugs featured on a later song on the album, which I'll get into in a few. There does happen to be a very controversial line in the song. So controversial, I'm not even going to say the line. Those who know, but let's just say it involves a bridge. Biggie was no stranger in saying questionable and controversial lyrics. He mentioned his close friend C Gutta in the song, who was very upset with what Biggie said about him. In 2022, C Gutta did an interview with DJ Vlad where he discussed how he hated the line. He said that the line was untrue because he would never do that. Gutta heard the line while he was in the studio, which left him rightfully pissed. He didn't speak to Biggie for 2 weeks even though they shared a place together at the time. Following What's Beef comes the B.I.G. interlude. It's a short interlude with Biggie spitting a quick verse. Biggie Smalls raps over the beat to Schoolie D's 1985 song PSK, What Does It Mean? Schoolie D approved of Biggie Smalls doing this and said that he was one of his favorite rappers. The interlude fades into the second single for the album, which happens to be Mo Money, Mo Problems. The song features Mace and Diddy. It topped the Billboard Hot 100. Stevie J produced this record along with some others on the album. In an interview, he said that Mace came to him with the idea of sampling Diana Ross's 1980 song, I'm Coming Out. Mace himself has spoken about this song, adding to what Stevie J said regarding his involvement with the beat and the overall song. Mace wanted the song for his debut album, Harlem World, which was released 7 months after Life After Death, if it did not come out on this album. As we know, it did end up landing on Life After Death and it became a smash hit. Bleed is the 11th track on the first CD of the album. Nasheem Myrick, who produced the song, said that he thinks that this song was done after Tupac died, which would have been after September of 1996 if true. Carlos Brody of The Hitmen has production credits on the track as well. In an interview, he said that they jacked the sample and he had to play it over. During this interview, he did not want to disclose the record that they sampled because he was unsure if they ever cleared it. It's pretty easy to find out what the sample is though. It's the 1972 song Hey Who Really Cares by The Whispers.
Today's agenda, got the suitcase up in the central. Go to room 112, tell them Blanco sent you.
The last official track on the first CD is the song I Got a Story to Tell. Now, I've already done a whole video breaking down this song. Definitely go check that out if you want to know the complete story and history behind the track. Essentially, this song is based on a true story, but it is definitely exaggerated for entertainment purposes. For years, fans speculated on which NBA player's girl Biggie slept with. In the song, he gave numerous clues such as the player being a New York Knick and he was about 6'5". They also had to be a Knick anytime between 1994 to 1997. Fans speculated that the player in question could have been John Starks, Larry Johnson, or Derek Harper. These all turned out to be incorrect. After years and years, it was finally confirmed by people close to Biggie, like Fat Joe and Diddy, that Anthony Mason was who the song was about. Anthony Mason sadly died in 2015. While it was great for fans to finally know who the song was about, it's still sad that it was finally confirmed after his death, which meant that we never heard his side of the story. Rest in peace, Anthony Mason. There's a chance that this song might have never came out though due to sample clearance issues. Buck Wild, who has production credits on the song, talked about this. He said that Biggie liked his beats, but he felt that he had nothing for him. This motivated Buck Wild to keep trying, and it led to the two working together on the song I Got a Story to Tell. Everything was cool until it was time to get the sample cleared. Puffy tried but got turned down. Clive Davis tried to get it cleared, but he was also turned down. Keep in mind that Clive is a big wig in the music industry. He founded Arista Records, who distributed Bad Boy Records from 1993 to 2002. He was turned down as well. The song originally sampled the 1983 song Belladonna by Andreas Vollenweider. I think that's how you say it. I don't really know.
Down like that, lay my game down quite flat. Sweet lift, when you park that.
Because they could not get the sample cleared, Diddy brought in Chucky Thompson to replay all the music. Rest in peace to him. This is referred to as interpolating instead of sampling. An additional fact about the song is that the beat was originally meant for Foxy Brown. The idea was pitched of Jay-Z getting on the record with her, but she turned it down. After she turned it down, Biggie got on the record. When she heard Biggie Smalls on it, she told him that it was the hottest song on his album. Buck Wild said that he didn't think that Foxy realized that this was the beat that she turned down. But there does happen to be a hidden track on the album. From what I've researched, in order to find it, you need to go to track number 13 directly when you have the first CD in. This leads to an interview that Biggie did speaking about his come up, Tupac's death, and his life up to that point of life after death. The first song on the second CD of the album was the song Notorious Thugs, which featured Bone Thugs and Harmony. By multiple accounts, Biggie was a fan of Bone Thugs and Harmony. He liked what the Midwest was doing with the music, and he loved how the group did their melodies. Bone Thugs got the call to work with Biggie while they were in LA working on their own double album, The Art of War. Their studio session with Biggie is the stuff of legends. The members of Bone Thugs got extremely drunk and high, causing them to pass out during the session. It got to the point where Biggie approached Bone Thugs' manager, Steve Lobel, to ask him if they were alright. Steve assured him that everything was fine. Bone did this all the time. When they all finally woke up, they went into the booth and knocked out their verses. Now, it was Biggie's turn, but he did not lay his verse when Bone was in the studio with him. Biggie took the song home to study and master Bone Thugs' style. He absolutely killed the track, and it led to this legendary song.
Armed and dangerous, ain't too many can bang with us. Straight up, we no angel dust. Label us notorious.
Stevie J produced this record, and he confirmed that Bone Thugs did their verses in LA while Biggie did his verse in New York. At the time, Stevie just drank, but Biggie encouraged him to take a hit of what he was smoking to quote-unquote get Stevie in another zone. This led to the creation of the Notorious Thugs beat. Stevie also said that Diddy played multiple beats for Bone Thugs before he finally played his beat, which they loved. But there was a chance that this song almost did not happen, and it's because of Tupac. Prior to working with Biggie, Bone Thugs made a song with Tupac called Thug Love, which was released later on their 1997 album, The Art of War. It's already well known that Tupac and Biggie had problems, so members of Bone did not want to get in the middle of it. Specifically Bizzy Bone, who laid his verse for Notorious Thugs, but it wasn't until afterwards when he started to regret it. Fat Joe, who helped to bring Bone Thugs and Biggie together, has stated that when he tried to get them together, Biggie told him that the Bone Thugs ignored him. When Fat Joe tried to mediate, members of Bone told him that they did not want to work with Biggie because of Tupac. Fat Joe said that he tried to convince them to do it. Also, according to Bizzy Bone, a member of his entourage had a Tupac shirt on when they met with Biggie in the studio. Lil C's kept staring at him and the tension started to rise. It got to the point where Bizzy Bone had to ask his friend to leave and come back later. But everything turned out fine and the song was released. Miss You featuring 112 is the next song up. Some fans believed that this song was about Tupac since he passed before the album was released, but this is not true. The song is dedicated to Biggie's friend O, who passed away due to gun violence. Another is the next song, and it features Lil Kim. The two were linked romantically when Biggie was alive and they often fought. Stevie J produced this track and he spoke about how the song was real because they were going through rough times. In an interview, Lil Kim spoke about having a big fight with Biggie after hearing that he was creeping with another woman. Even after their fight, she wanted Biggie in the studio because he was easier to work with than Puffy. She also confirmed that a lot of the lyrics were true, especially when she rapped about going to court for Biggie. This really happened because Biggie had a case in Camden, New Jersey when a promoter accused him of beating him up. Lil Kim had to testify for Biggie despite her being mad at him for creeping around with another woman. Following this comes the song Going Back to Cali.
I'm going back to Cali. I'm going.
This is the second and last song that Easy Mo B produced for this album. Going Back to Cali is very eerie though, considering the song was made during the height of the East Coast West Coast beef, and California is where Biggie ultimately died at. The song is not dissing LA at all, but Biggie and Bad Boy were warned about coming to LA so soon after Tupac's death and them still having lingering issues with the West Coast. In an interview about the song, Diddy said, "Everybody always feared when we would go to California and have problems, and we were very conscious of it, but we were trying to make it positive. That was just saying that we was going back to have a good time." He was saying he had love for Cali. Just because he had a problem with one person, he wasn't going to start saying he didn't like all of California. A lot of people blame Diddy for Biggie Smalls' death. Diddy himself has said that he will always feel some sort of responsibility for the situation, considering that that was his artist. He was supposed to go to London that night, and I let him talk me into not going to London and staying in LA. That's something that really bothered me throughout my life. Sometimes you have to really go with that decision in your gut, and in my gut, it was like you need to get on that plane. Now, there does happen to be conflicting reports on whether Biggie actually wanted to go to LA or he was forced to. The answer depends on who you ask, but a lot of his fans feel that going to LA was not a wise decision, which it was not considering that Biggie died there. The song 10 Crack Commandments is next, and it's produced by DJ Premier. When speaking about the song, he said that Snoop Dogg and Daz Dillinger were in the studio when Biggie recorded it. He also detailed how the song originally happened to be a demo for Angie Martinez's radio show on Hot 97 called Hot 5 at 9. DJ Premier produced the promo while J. Rue the Damager did the rap. One day, Diddy happened to be guest hosting the show when he heard the promo.
Mr. Caliente, Cinco a la nueve on Hot 97.
I remember this!
Martinez,
After hearing this, Diddy went live on the radio telling DJ Premier to call him. They got in touch, but before Diddy purchased the promo, DJ Premier went to J. Rue to see if he was okay with it. J. Rue said that it was just hip-hop and it was not a big deal. Something else that DJ Premier spoke on was the lawsuit that came from the song. The counts 1 through 9 on the track are sampled from Public Enemy's 1991 song Shut 'Em Down. Chuck D is the frontman of the song, and DJ Premier said that he took issue with having his voice sampled in a song with the subject matter of 10 Crack Commandments. There does happen to be conflicting accounts on the situation though. DJ Premier said that Chuck D took issue because he, along with Public Enemy, were against the promotion of drugs, alcohol, etc. They have songs like 1 Million Bottle Bags and Night of the Living Bassheads, which are against drugs and alcohol. In my video about rappers promoting alcohol, I discussed how Chuck D and Public Enemy claimed copyright infringement against St. Ides and filed a $5 million lawsuit after they used a vocal sample of the Public Enemy song Bring the Noise without permission. This lawsuit ultimately got settled out of court. According to Chuck D, it was not him who chose to sue over the 10 Crack Commandments song. It was his co-songwriters who wanted to do it even though he was fine not suing. When you look up the songwriting credits for the song Shut 'Em Down, there happens to be multiple people credited. Chuck D said that even though he was fine with it, the songwriters felt that Bad Boy Records had a lot of money and they wanted a piece of it. This caused a huge rift between DJ Premier and Chuck D, with Premier feeling like the timing was bad because Biggie was dead by the time the song came out. He felt that Biggie could not defend himself. According to Chuck D, the lawsuit ended up being settled for $15,000, which wasn't anywhere near what the songwriters on Shut 'Em Down were looking for. For more about the song 10 Crack Commandments, DJ Premier broke it down on his YouTube channel. It's a great watch and he gives his perspective on the making of the record. Player Hater is the next song, and there honestly isn't much about the song that I could find. Stevie J has production credits on the song and said that Biggie wanted to do a whole album of ballads titled Big Ballads. Due to his death, this never came to fruition. Nasty Boy follows this, and it's another record that Stevie J produced. He mentioned that they had an issue with this song due to it originally sampling the 1982 Vanity 6 song Nasty Girl. Stevie J and Diddy took a trip to go see Prince, who wrote and produced the song. He also created the group. While on this trip, they could not find Prince, which is why they had to move in a different direction with the song. Sky's the Limit featuring 112 was the third and last single from the album. It was released along with Going Back to Cali and Kicking the Door. It peaked at number 26 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song went gold in December of 1997. The song is produced by DJ Clark Kent. He passed away recently, so a big rest in peace goes out to him. Clark Kent told the story of how Biggie went through his tapes as he picked out beats for the Junior Mafia album. This must have been around 1994 because Clark said that this was the same day that Biggie recorded his vocals for the song Who Shot Ya, which came out in 1994 via Ready to Die. While Biggie went through Clark's tapes, he found the beat to Sky's the Limit. He wanted the beat for himself, which confused Clark because he knew that Biggie was not going to drop another album for a year or two, which he was right about. Biggie did not care though, and he wanted DJ Clark Kent to hold the beat for him. Clark informed Biggie that the rapper Akinelli wanted the track too, but Biggie did not care, and the song ended up going to him. Sky's the Limit is followed by the song The World Is Filled, which features Too Short, Diddy, and Carl Thomas. During the making of the song, Carl Thomas was not officially signed to Bad Boy yet. He was still in negotiations with the label. But doing the song really helped him with making up his mind, which eventually led to him joining Bad Boy Records. He does the hook of the song and said that it was part of a poem that he wrote in study hall while he was in 10th grade. Crazy. Too Short has detailed the making of the song in a Vlad TV interview, saying that Diddy called him the feature on the album. He also said that Biggie did his verse in one take. My Downfall is the next track on the album, and it features DMC of the legendary rap group Run DMC. He appears on the track, but the initial plan was to sample a line of his from the Run DMC song Together Forever. The issue that the producers of My Downfall had was that they could not sample Together Forever without the background interfering with the track. This is when Diddy called DMC to do a fresh hook to solve the problem. Puffy spoke about the song, explaining that people were praying for their downfall. A lot of people were jealous and envious of them, even people on their own coast. The second to last song on the second CD of the album is Long Kiss Goodnight. It's produced by RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan.
I make your mouthpiece obese like Della Reese. When I release, you lose teeth like little C's.
Biggie personally requested for RZA to produce a track for the album. When questioned about the song, RZA said that even though Biggie wanted him to be on the album, he wasn't sure if everybody in his camp agreed with the decision. This is most likely due to what I explained earlier regarding what Ghostface and Raekwon said about Biggie. Despite this, Biggie did not have any problems with RZA, which led to them to work together. Capadonna, another member of the Wu-Tang Clan, originally did the hook for the song but was taken off the final version. This song is quite controversial, with fans believing that the song is aimed at Tupac, although he's never named. Fans believe that it's his response to Tupac's infamous diss Hit 'Em Up, which Biggie never made an official diss track for. In an interview with XXL, Diddy flat out denied that the song is about Tupac. He blamed people's imagination for believing in that because they were just lyrics. In this same interview, Lil C's conflicted what Diddy said by saying that the song was indeed about Tupac. But then in 2022, during an interview with The Art of Dialogue, Lil C's went back on his statement and said that Long Kiss Goodnight was not about Tupac. Regardless of what you believe, Biggie rapped lyrics to the song while he was at a radio station in LA. So not only was he in LA just months after Tupac's death, but he was seemingly dissing a dead man too, who's beloved on the West Coast where he's at. A hell of a bad mix if you ask me. There does happen to be an original version of the song available online, which differs from the final version. The original version has an outro with Biggie, while the final version has Diddy on the outro. Some additional information about the song is that the title of the song is inspired by the 1996 movie The Long Kiss Goodnight. Last but not least, we have the eerily titled You're Nobody Till Somebody Kills You. This track initially sampled the Billy Preston song I Wonder. The sample never got cleared, which led to the sample being replayed by the producers of the song. This song concludes the entire album, and what a ride it has been. I cannot imagine listening to this album in 1997, right after Biggie died. Everything from song titles, lyrics, the album cover, and the name of the album is just weird, creepy, eerie, all the above. Everything about this album is just super weird. But all in all, let me know in the comment section below what you thought of the album and what album I should cover next. I love you guys with all my heart. Peace.